Okay, so welcome to our full moon in Libra. I'm very excited to talk about this full moon. It is a bit of a doozy. I don't totally love the chart in terms of it being a supportive chart. It's a little bit more of a challenging full moon, but I do love it in terms of what I think it's going to open up and unlock for us if we are willing to kind of work with the energy of this chart. Like I said, it's a bit of a trickier one. It's a bit of a more challenging chart. We'll talk about why that is. But as we get into it, you'll see why I'm saying those things. And what I think is really important to understand with this full moon is that it's one that we want to actively participate in. It's one that we want to actively work with this energy. This energy is really supportive to be doing some deep inner work. And I think that if we can show up for it with some like strength and really use this energy in a good way, it's going to be really supportive for us for the energy that's going to come in the coming weeks. So let's dive into the chart so that what I'm saying has some context and makes a bit more sense. So I'm going to just share my screen with you here. Okay, so here we have the full moon chart. And this is a full moon in Libra. Now, right off the bat, I want to talk a little bit about Libra themes. Libra rules relationships, and the balance between Libra and Aries, which is where we have the sun, making this a full moon chart when the sun and moon are in opposition. The balance between Libra and Aries is a conversation about self versus other. And so we are feeling the tension and the polarity between these two kind of archetypal energies in this chart. And with this full moon in Libra specifically, we are looking at a little bit more of the shadow qualities of Libra because there are some harsher aspects happening in this chart. It's going to be kind of bringing up and illuminating some of those shadows of the archetype. And so we're going to be looking at those today. Now, the shadows of Libra, when we look at Libra in its highest expression, it is a sign that is here to create balance and harmony. However, when we look into the shadows of Libra, when we take that archetypal energy just a little bit too far, we get the shadows of self-abandonment. We get the shadows of people-pleasing. We get the shadows of the ways in which we overly compromise, where we overextend ourselves for others, where we overgive and there's not enough receiving. And so these are kind of the themes that we're looking at with this full moon. And these themes are in direct conflict or opposition with the sun in Aries. The sun in Aries is all about, I know what I want and I'm going to fucking go for it. I know what is best for me. I have an individual mission. I have a vision. I have a goal. I'm here to chase that vision and that mission, and I'm here to make shit happen. Now, this full moon in Libra is kind of illuminating for us where there is tension between these two energies and where we need to kind of clean some of that up. So why is there tension? Why is that being eliminated? This is tension because this full moon, the most important aspect to this full moon is a square from Jupiter. It's a pretty tight square. And Jupiter is a planet that amplifies. Jupiter is a planet that supersizes whatever it touches. And a square from Jupiter is going to reveal to us and illuminate to us, and full moons in general illuminate. Full moons in general are release points of an energy that's been building and is now ready to be illuminated, brought into our awareness, brought into our conscious mind, and then cleared and cleansed and released. And so Jupiter squaring this full moon is kind of like this energy that is supersizing the full moon. So the full moon might feel kind of like a super moon energy. We're going to get this like amplification of the full moon vibe. Generally, when the full moon is in an air sign, it's not such of a big emotional energy. However, because Jupiter is in Cancer, this is going to really amplify the emotions. Jupiter in Cancer squaring the full moon is making us feel some type of way about this energy. And so what's really happening here is that we're being pushed into recognition of where there's a pattern that is subtly still playing out, of where there is an imbalance of energy, where there is an imbalance of giving versus receiving, where we are pouring our life force, our time, our energy, our resources, our money into situations that are not feeding us and nourishing us in equal measure, where we are kind of overextending our resources and it's not meeting the mark in terms of our individual goals and desires. And so that kind of archetypal theme is playing out throughout this full moon. It's bringing this hyper intense focus to where this might be happening for us, to where we might be like kind of just not honoring ourselves and then getting into situations where we end up feeling energetically depleted, emotionally depleted, financially depleted, where our time gets depleted, like situations where there's like a energetic of extraction, which is really what happens when that balance of giving and receiving is not reciprocal and is not in harmony. And so the other reason why this is kind of intense and it's pulling our focus to this theme, this is a theme that we're being asked to purge and release and let it go through a death cycle. And the reason why is because the ruler of the chart, so the ruler of the full moon in Libra is going to be Libra's ruler, which is Venus. Now, when we first look at Venus, we see that she's in Taurus. She loves Taurus. She's at home in Taurus. She's happy in Taurus. But what does she want in Taurus? She wants stability. She wants to be resourced. She wants to have things the way that she likes them. And she wants to feel abundant in her resource to create that reality for ourselves. However, Venus is being ill aspected by Lord Pluto. So Venus is in a square with Pluto, and Pluto is basically showing Venus where she has consciously or unconsciously participated in situations and dynamics that have created instability for her. She does not like this feeling. It is really revealing where there's an internal lack of peace and harmony, and where that has created kind of this like power struggle energy, this depletion energy that I've spoken about. And she's being basically forced to confront those dynamics right now to, again, illuminate them, to bear witness to them so that they can go through a death process, because Pluto is the Lord of death, the Lord of the underworld. And so Pluto wants us to shed and clear and release these patterns, release these places in our life where we're participating in dynamics that are depleting for us, and to really reorient ourselves towards this, where the sun is in the chart, which is Aries, which is what are my goals? What are my desires? What is it that I'm here to build? What is it that I'm here to do and create? And how can I orient back towards the self? And, you know, there's the other thing, reason. So the reason why I think that this chart is, it's not a comfortable one, right? Like it's illuminating this very deeply uncomfortable pattern. However, I think that this is going to be very beneficial to us, because as we can see, the ruler of Aries is Mars, and Mars is about to enter Aries. Mars is just sitting in these late degrees of Pisces. Mars has been, you know, all these planets that have been going through Pisces have been kind of going through the ringer. They've all had to make contact with the North Node, which is growth, expansion, but it's also very challenging. They've all had to make contact with Mercury in this kind of retrograde portal. Mercury is still in this post shadow, friends. So we are not quite out of the woods when it comes to the Mercury retrograde themes. We will be out of that post shadow on April 9th. So that's coming up next week. But we're still sitting in a little bit of murky waters. Things aren't totally clear, especially with this Mercury retrograde being in Pisces. Pisces is ruled by Neptune. Neptune is illusion, deception. Things are not totally clear. And so Mars has been swimming through all this, and Mars really doesn't love being in Pisces. Mars is challenged in Pisces. Mars is going to move into Aries, and he's going to bring kind of this vitality and this drive and this willpower that we've been seeking for towards this new vision that we're seeding. Because we have a new vision. When Neptune and Saturn came into conjunction at 0 degrees of Aries, they seeded a new vision. This is a very important piece of the theme of this whole year, is this new vision that was seeded at the 0 degree of Aries, because this is the rebirth point in the zodiac wheel. This is when the threshold from Pisces to Aries is when we experience that rebirth. And so having Neptune and Saturn conjunct there at that 0 degree point, that was a moment that seeded something new that we are here to build, a new legacy, a new dream, a new vision. And yet it probably has felt like that vision is there. It's starting to crystallize. It's not fully clear because we've been in Mercury retrograde energies, we've been in eclipse energies. Everything's been very, very shifty and a bit chaotic. But we kind of have this vision. However, it might be feeling like you don't have the energy to actually create the vision. Like the tangible vitality that you need to move forward on that vision has probably been lacking to some extent. And when Mars moves into Aries, we're going to start to experience that forward movement. We're going to start to experience that vitality land in the physical body for us to take up that space and move towards creating that vision. So that's going to be a really exciting moment. And when we look at Mars in this chart, Mars is the ruler of the sun in Aries, and Mars is receiving this helpful sextile from Uranus. Now, it's not a super tight sextile, and sextiles in general require our participation. They are a beneficial aspect that require our participation in them. And so Mars is basically right now open to receiving a new perspective on this direction. Mars is open to this new kind of aha download from Uranus, but this is going to require our participation in order to receive it. And so we want to be working with that energy for sure. And, you know, something that has come up today is this theme of filling up on our own energy. This is such an important theme, I think, when it comes to looking at this full moon chart, because basically when we're revealing the shadows of Libra, we're looking at the places where we have not been filled up on our own energy, where we have been open, our field has been open to manipulation, distortion, and potentially even extraction from outside influences, because we have been a little bit too lenient. We've been a little bit too, we've been overgiving, right? We've been overextending. We've been so focused on creating this external harmony in the group around us that we have forgotten to tend to ourselves. And if I could give you a piece of advice for working with this full moon, it would be to tend to yourself, to fill up your own cup, to fill up your body, your light body, your energetic field with your own essence. Because when we become susceptible to external forces, the real reason why we have porousness in our energetic field in the first place is that our energetic field has gaps within it. And those gaps are a result of us not occupying the space of our own energy, of our own body. And the energy of Aries is about the body. It is about our vitality. It is about our life force. It is about our desires and our needs and going after those things. And so when we can pull that energy inward and connect and actually, you know, we talked a lot in my last retreat about sovereignty and this theme of really occupying your energetic space. This is really the theme that I want to leave you with around this full moon. This full moon is going to illuminate things that are uncomfortable. It's going to bring to the surface imbalances in your life. It could be bringing to the surface also scarcity stuff. It could be bringing up scarcity in relationships. It could be bringing up scarcity in finances. These are Venus ruled themes. But it's showing you where there is an imbalance of resource exchange, where there is an imbalance of giving and receiving, where there is something where you're pouring so much into it and it is not pouring back into you. And so the medicine for this, the alchemy for this, is to pour so much into yourself that there's not space for those other energies to come in and to really siphon and extract off of your life force, because you're so filled up on your own energy that you're really occupying your own body, you're really occupying your own energetic field. And to be able to bear witness to those patterns that are coming up around, you know, whether it's relationships, whether it's finances, it could be both. These charts, right, these energies are never just going to apply to one thing. So there's probably many areas in your life where this theme is becoming kind of clear to you, but it's going to be illuminating something. And so if you allow that illumination to take place, and then you allow that process of death with Pluto, you allow Venus to go through her Pluto death. You allow yourself to really refine and re-examine the ways in which you perceive value, the ways in which you perceive your own self-value, the ways in which you are maybe externalizing that to other people or to things that are outside of your own sovereignty and your own control. You know, this is a full moon that's bringing you back into your sovereignty. This is a full moon that's going to illuminate where that balance is off, and it's going to be asking you to clear and clean that energy up so that you can come back into your sovereignty. And from that place, I will say something that is a little bit of a warning that I want to mention is that this energy is going to linger a little bit of this full moon. Usually we have the full moon and the energy of the full moon kind of clears it. However, because we can see in this full moon chart that Venus is just at 2 degrees of Taurus, and she's coming into her square with Pluto in this full moon. So when the aspect is building up like that, it's actually felt more strongly. But she's going to come into that exact square later in the week, around Friday, I believe. And so this energy is going to kind of be lingering throughout the week. It's an energy that I want to invite you to work with. It's an energy that I want you to invite you to bring ritual to bring ceremony to, both the process of clearing out where there is still a habit or perception or a belief or a story or a behavior or a dynamic or a circumstance or whatever it may be that is kind of holding you in that imbalance of giving and receiving. I want you to bring a death to that. I want you to work with ritual to bring a death to that. I would specifically recommend a fire ritual for this particular full moon. I would recommend, working with the element of fire. This is a very helpful energy because the sun is in Aries, which is cardinal fire. And so you're going to want to work with that. And then also to work with ritual around holding your energy, being in your body, being in your sovereignty, and really anchoring in to your own unique energetic essence. So I hope this is helpful for you. I hope you enjoy this reading, and I'm sending you a lot